Hello and welcome back to the Simplicity Diaries with me, Kim John Payne. Quick little announcement. This coming Saturday and Sunday, January 26, 27, there will be a Care Professionals course for Simplicity Parenting Family Life. So if you're a care professional, an educator, and you want to learn more about how to bring this into your day-to-day practice, on Saturday for 3 hours, Sunday for 3 hours, we have a training that does exactly that. And I personally lead it. It's live and online. And you can see it right in the show notes, or go to simplicityparenting.com and you'll get more information about the details for that. But many care professionals, counselors, nurses, doctors, educators, therapists have taken these trainings over the years. I think there's in excess of 1,200 people now who have done these various trainings. So anyway, hope you can join us if that's at all interesting to you. And if you're listening to this podcast after that date, we do run these trainings year round. We do 4 care professional trainings every year. So you can still go to the website and check it out and check when the next one is coming up. Okay, now this week I've been thinking about various strategies to help with sibling tensions. With issues between brothers and sisters and brothers and sisters. And one of the pieces in general, when you hear that kind of noise, that has you thinking, oh, that's not going well. And you can already hear that's not going in a good direction. If you can get in early enough, one of the key things to do is a couple of steps here. One is to not hesitate to insert yourself. And one of the first comments, one of the first things to do is get in between the kids and just say to them, oh dear, okay, this is not going well, is it? This is not going well. And I know that sounds like, well, that's pretty obvious, but actually we can come into these kinds of arguments that are going on that are starting to ramp up, and we can come in saying, no, stop that now. We don't do that now. And we can come in with a whole bunch of directions, giving kids directions, telling them to stop. That's enough now. Cut it out. And it's not connecting before we direct. This comment that I often repeat of connect before you correct or direct. And one of the simplest connection points when it's going wrong with kids is to get yourself in between them and just make a simple comment of connection. Oh boy, this is really not going well. Whoa. This is not going well. Or this is just not fun anymore, is it, if it's little kids? Well, let's see how we can put this right so we can just move on. That's the second part of the comment. And I've mentioned this before in one other podcast. The putting it right to move on is way more successful, particularly for kids up to about the age of 9, even beyond really, than talking about a bunch of feelings. Honestly, they're playing together. It's gone wrong. They want to get back to playing together. Just so to sit down and do some kind of psychotherapy with them is exactly what most kids don't want to do. And they're often too little to understand the fine nuances of their feelings anyway. That's another whole big subject. But they know that doesn't feel good. But just to say, oh, this has really gone wrong, hasn't it? Oh dear, this is hard. Oh, that was harsh. Yeah, something's really gone wrong. Statement number 1. Statement number 2 is, let's just see if we can just figure this out so we can just get on. That there's 2 things there. Let's see if we can figure it out. Like, we're just going to figure it, and then crucially, so we can get on. So we can just get back to playing or just go and do our own thing. But let's just figure this out so we can get on. Now, what that means is that we're not corralling these kids. We're not painting them into a corner. We're not asking them to sit down and hold hands and light candles and talk about values. It can get too much for kids, and it gets icky, and it makes the situation really hard to resolve. Maybe a little bit of that's okay. It's every family's different. But I've certainly found this key comment so we can get on. So we can get on with being children. We can get on with playing. And we're not going to psychoanalyze this to the point where it just makes us mad or exhausted as kids. I guess as parents too. So that's the second piece. Then the last piece is now that we're looking forward, we're not looking backwards, because if you look backwards, they'll come up with all kinds of stories. He did that. He took it. I had it first. You did not. That was yesterday. Yeah, well, I still and you just, and off you go to the races. When you have a forward-lookingness to it, their stories will still come out, but it's in the name of moving it forward. And frankly, it's also a bunch quicker to get on with. And then when you've kind of connected, you've made that empathetic statement, oh, this is not going well. That was really harsh. This is really hard, isn't it? I wonder how we can set this to rights and move on. Okay, that's the second. And the third is, now, would you like my help? Or maybe you can do this on your own. Maybe you can. Do you remember? Yeah, just was that on the weekend? You sorted that out well, boys. You did, or girls or kids. You sorted that out well. And that went well, didn't it? You worked it out on your own. I wonder if you can do that again. Or it's really okay if you need my help. That's fine too. Okay, so again, do you need my help, or can you sort it out on your own? And often the sorting it out on your own, it's helpful if it comes with a little reminder that honestly they're perfectly capable of doing it, and you point out when they did it. They did do it on their own because they've lost track of that because they're grumpy at each other. They're glaring at each other. And what you're doing is holding the good. You're holding their goodness. You're holding their capacity to sort things out because they've lost it. In that little moment, they've lost it. So you're holding it and saying, I remember on Saturday, do you remember when there was a bit of an argument about whatever it was? And I asked you, could you sort it out on your own, or did you need my help? And you did. You sorted it out well. And that got back to being fun really quickly, didn't it? But you know what? It's really okay if you need my help because we're just going to move it on. We're just going to figure it out how to move it on. It gives kids the chance to work stuff out by themselves, but sometimes the issue is too big, or one child is dominating too much, the older one or over the younger one, or sometimes younger ones can actually dominate older ones by triggering them, by needling them, provoking them. But that's the third step. Now, if they choose to sort it out for themselves, a little tip here, stay close. I would often with my kids get my sewing out and I just sit and sew, or, get a magazine out and sit and read it, or get your knitting out and knit, or whatever it is. Make some notes for work the next day, not on a phone. Don't use a phone in that moment, but just on paper. Whatever it is, just stay within earshot, definitely within earshot, in case you need to move in and say, oh, well, good try, kids, but I think you need some help from mum now. I think you need some help with dad, but good try. Why not? Try and sort it out yourselves. That was worth a try. Let's see what we can do. That's if it doesn't work. The working it out with them, it's really important to not ask kids what happened, because then you get a bunch of like one story competing against another. And there is another podcast that focuses specifically on this, but ask a child. Tell me, you might turn to one child and say, Miguel, you tell me how you see it, love. Okay, now hang on a minute. Skylar, you can tell me how you see it next, all right? Because you went first last time. Doesn't matter who goes first. Doesn't matter. Okay, Miguel, how do you see it? Now remember kids, that we all see in our family, it's okay to see things differently, and it's okay to feel things differently. It really is okay. It's so okay. So Miguel, what you say, Skylar, you may see it differently, and I'm going to be so interested in hearing how you see it. I am. Okay? But it doesn't mean how your brother sees it is wrong. It just is how he felt, how he experiences it. Okay? And then you hear how he sees it. And then you say, Skylar, thank you for waiting, love. You're getting good at that. Now, do you see it in the same sort of way, or are there different things you were seeing? You see, when you say that to kids, when you approach it that way, they don't have to recruit you, because as a parent, you're the most powerful thing in the room. And if you say what happened, they'll make their stories more and more exaggerated in order to get you on their side. Right? But by cutting right across that and asking them to tell you the way they felt it or the way they saw it, then they don't need to recruit you anymore. And this is this third step. If they want you to help, pay real attention to using it as an opportunity to say, in our family, it's okay to see stuff differently. It really is. It's perfectly fine. When they're done with telling you the way they see it, you just summarize a little bit. You just bring the two stories together and say, okay, here's 2 or 3 ideas. Tell me what you think. And you can initiate some ideas. And even if they don't think it's a very good idea, they'll say, well, why? What do you think would be better? And you can initiate. And remember, we're trying to work this out so we can move on. Don't make it complicated. Now, if they do work it out, or you work it out, or if they just decide simply in their working out, or you decide, someone is just to have space and let the adrenaline drain down. And general rule of thumb is it's basically their age, and move that into minutes. So if they're 10 years old, it's about 10 minutes for the adrenaline to drain down if it's not super elevated. If they're 5, it's about 5 minutes. If it's elevated, then 7 or 8 minutes. If it's a really simple little disagreement, it's just 2 or 3 minutes. But there is an adrenaline drain down. And sometimes with the older kids, you can just be really blunt about that and say, we need to have just some space, some calm down, just some space apart. And look, there have been 2 or 3 ideas. I'll bring them back in 3 or 4 minutes, in 10 minutes, and we'll talk them through. Right? But if they do work it out, even if it is just to give each other space or whatever, I think it's really important at some stage, relatively soon, certainly within that day, at dinner time, that evening, or even sooner, to say to them, hey boys or girls, hey kids, well done. That worked out. You really sort of just moved on, didn't you? Yeah, it was good. And then go. Don't make a big deal of it. Don't exaggerate it. But just say, well done. Good, good, good. And you might give a little squeezy on the shoulder and just say, that was good. You treated your brother really well there. Well done. Well done. So that 4-step process is a way, and it's a pretty organic. I know we're all kind of doing this more or less. But the first step is to move in and connect. This is hard. This is not working out. Something's gone wrong. Words have gotten really harsh here. Step 1. And then the second step is to, is to really say, we're going to figure this out so we can move on. Step 2. Step 3 is to ask them, would they like to sort it out, or would they like you to sort it out? And the little piece of that is perspectives, that everyone has their own right to have a perspective. Step 4 is circle back to them and let them know that that was pretty great, that well done. Now, I hope that's helpful. All that stuff is so organic, but I'm just sort of lining it up in that way. And even if you just get 1 or 2 of those steps, it's still a whole bunch better than blowing up. Okay, remember the Care Professionals training coming right on up this coming weekend. Love to see you there, literally see you there, because it's live, right, on Zoom. So we see each other, and lots of really great learning. It's all based on the Simplicity Parenting book and how to bring that into your work as a care professional or educator. Okay, that's it for now. Bye-bye.